Hey everybody, it's Strict9 with Strict9 GP, and welcome to another episode of my Out of the Park 20 playthrough with the Phillies. We're in this 2029 season. Man, things are not going the way I thought they would. I was really optimistic going into the season. I thought I had really one of my best, if not the best, off seasons I've had in a long time. And we're in good shape payroll wise. Um, Things though are just not going too well. And we just finished the draft. We're 58 games in. Record's 28-30. We flirt with 500. I think a time or two we were a game above 500, and then we just go on a losing streak and can't get it going. And surprise, surprise, I've focused so much on pitching in this playthrough, and finally have some good pitching, and the offense is tanking. And that's going to be the story. We'll look at the team a little bit later. I wanted to go through and just give you a heads up overview, a little bit of an overview anyway, of the draft that I had. And then we'll get started swimming ahead maybe to the All-Star game, All-Star break. But just looking at the draft, I've kind of come to the point where I don't really get too excited about it anymore. I think it takes till some of these players are in single A or high A, sometimes double A, before you really even know, what kind of draft that you've had. And it's just, unless you're picking really high, and the last really high pick I had was the catcher on my team, Ian Norman, who has turned into a starter for me. Unless you're picking really high in that first round, there are no guarantees in this draft, almost never. And I'll just go through maybe the first 5 picks I had and just to kind of give you an idea of my strategy a little bit. We didn't have a first round pick this year because of that free agent pitcher signing last offseason. Lost the first round pick because of him, but we did get a fairly high supplemental round pick in the first round, and I went with this pitcher who my scout likes quite a bit, or not pitcher, sorry, third baseman. He's only rated 3.5 stars overall potential, and OSA doesn't have him as high. But one thing I liked, OSA does have double digits in all these ratings, and my scout thinks he can have a really impact power potential, 16 on a 20 scale potentially, with high contact and gap power. So I don't always draft for power. I usually go for contact, sometimes contact and speed. I'll go with those kind of players before I'll draft somebody with power. But I decided to kind of take a little bit of a different approach with my offensive drafts picks, and hopefully this guy will turn out to be okay. And then second pick was a second baseman, same deal. Guy has potential power of 14, but good contact, double digits for my scout in all the 5 offensive ratings. He's not as high on OSA, and what happens a lot of times, it's a very like a 180 between what my scout thinks and what OSA thinks in terms of power. But I'll give my scout, who's rated pretty high, some props here on this one. And then I went with a center fielder. Again, my scout thinks he's got potential 15 power, 14 contact, good personality rating, speed, defense, 3-star potential. He could possibly turn into a starter. And then I went with this relief pitcher who was ranked really high in his individual ratings from my scout and OSA. OSA thinks his stuff is 20 potential, so he could possibly turn into a closer down the line. And then the last pick I'll look at was a 5th round starting pitcher. I do like his individual stuff, movement, control potential, but he's only got 2 pitches according to my scout. More than likely, he's going to turn into a bullpen guy at best. But I like the fact that OSA and my scout were kind of close in some ways, so I thought that was maybe hedging my bet a little bit, and maybe he'll develop into a decent pitcher of some kind, whether it's starting rotation or as a bullpen guy. Who knows? But I can always use that kind of depth. Now, taking a look at how we're doing as a team. First off, the standings. We are third place, 8.5 behind Atlanta. Atlanta's, kind of like last year, pulling away. Some other teams, I mean, it's really close in that Central. You've got four teams within one game. Three, Milwaukee, Cincinnati, Chicago tied the same record. Dodgers still strong in this playthrough. They're leading in the National League West. Individually, you take out Josh Gordon, and we wouldn't have an offense. This guy he is our offensive catalyst, the leader of the team. Steve Bond is doing pretty well though, and he's hit, his average is around 275. It was lower at the start of the year, so he's turned it on a little bit. I think that's all though who we have on the leaderboards. And then looking at the American League briefly, the Yankees, Red Sox still playing back and forth here. Tampa Bay, who were strong in this playthrough earlier, when I started the first, decade, almost into 2 decades, they've struggled a little bit of late, so they're having a tough year this year. Minnesota's looking good, and then Rangers looking good. They're another team on the upside or upswing. A lot of home runs from the American League, and now even the National League, that's happening too. I think 58 games, I mean, you got guys on pace for 50 at least. I see that a lot, though, a lot of home runs in these playthroughs with both this version and 19, maybe even 18. Zach Hohenby, Rocky Stromain, those guys are still showing up on some pitcher leaderboards. I think Stromain is off to another pretty high win season. I've said before, he's won 4 Cy Youngs. I'm not sure how his final numbers are going to end up, but of his generation, I mean, he's definitely been one of the best pitchers in the game. Now, looking at our team, it's definitely a tale of two teams. Pitching is looking good, probably the best that we've looked in this playthrough. We're 5th in starter ERA, 5th overall, bullpen 6th ERA. We're also doing good in defensive efficiency and zone rating. Altogether, very solid pitching staff. Batting, though, is a real shocker. We're 8th in batting average, and that's the only thing outside of strikeouts and stolen bases where we're in the top 10. I mean, 11th in on base, 10th in slugging, which, we don't have a lot of home run hitters on the team, but runs scored 11th. It's going to be hard to win if we don't get a little bit better there. And I'll look at the pitching first because there are some positives. Contreras and Dion are having good seasons, especially Dion. 5 wins, a 2.96 ERA. I have a lot of hope for this guy turning into at least, he might develop into a mid-rotation type starter, but he's dependable in those lower slots at least. Same with Contreras. Mayhew was a guy who was injured earlier in the season. He's now back. He's a 2.5-star guy. He's a free agent at the end of this year. He's given me a couple of decent seasons, even though, honestly, just one decent season, but 14 wins last year, 4.5 wins above replacement. He's still, I think, a good starter. Bullpen, Mike Marson's looking good. Mendoza's struggled at times. 13 saves on pace for 36. I still got to decide if I really want to sign this guy to a long-term contract. He's probably going to want, I haven't looked at it, but 11.5. That's not too bad, honestly. So might look at extending him before the season's over. But then on the lineup side, I'm really liking Ian Norman in some respects. He hits for a high average. He just doesn't have any power. And I thought by now he would start developing some, but, 15 home runs might be his ceiling, honestly. But the big thing is I want him to get better catching a little bit. That arm is still pretty low at 8 for a catcher. I don't think that's a good sign. But then you got Gordon doing well, and that's about it. Steve Bond has been, I think, an improvement over probably defensively for sure, but over Vargas in that leadoff spot. But man, it's the big disappointment is Juan Portillo. This guy has, even though he's a 2.5-star player, his individual ratings, contact, gap power, home run power, even avoiding Ks, he should be a much better player. And he is on just a terrible streak. and I'm about to lose. I'm about to lose confidence in him, and if he keeps this up, if he doesn't soon turn it around, it's probably going to be Hobbs and Tuck probably getting some platoon situations there in left field. Aguirre isn't doing too bad. I'm going to continue to use him primarily at right. But if we look into the injuries and the minors, first off, injuries, we don't have anybody from the active roster who any major injuries right now, knock on wood. And in terms of who we can call up, I mean, we've got a few pitchers here like Mannion, Alvarado. I mean, those guys could help us out with injuries, but man, we just don't have any outfielders that we can call up, and that's going to be, I think, a problem if these two guys, mainly Portillo and Aguirre, don't start turning it on. And I've got Portillo and Aguirre both in kind of a platoon situation. If they're strong enough, I'm usually going to have these guys start every game, and the bench player's only going to come in if the starter's tired. But I've got the Hobbs coming in every fourth game for Aguirre, every fifth game for Portillo. That's the way I'm going to leave it until something different happens. But let's go ahead and get started on some games and see if we can get through to the All-Star break. We got a tough series starting off against Pittsburgh on the road. And we lose the first one 3-5. That figures. Bond looked good at the leadoff spot. Pitching, Dion had another, I think, solid game. 6 innings, just 3 runs. Mendoza, this is what I'm talking about. He blew it in the bullpen. Gave up 2 runs to lose it. And then, let's see, game 2. Looks like was it a shutout? But first off, we got a injury here in Lehigh Valley, Juan Mojica. Not a guy I'm going to really depend on too much this year. Let's see. No big news. But 3-0, that's kind of how we're winning, is with pitching. Portillo did have a good game here, 3 for 4. I moved him down in the lineup even. And I'm also playing Gutierrez, a guy I picked up the start of the year on waivers. Was really high on this guy. If you saw last episode, potential 4-star player from OSA, can play several different positions, but he's starting to get more playing time for me. And then McAvee, a good game, 8 innings, no runs. After a slow start, I'm hoping that he's starting to turn it around. If I look at the splits on him, his 2 starts in June have been really good. So now let's see if we can win the rubber game against Pittsburgh, and we lose 6-7 extra innings. Not much to speak of offensively, although Aguirre had a decent game. Lockhart's another guy who's about to lose his job. I picked him up in the offseason, hoping that he would take some of the slack at third from Lohman, who we lost last year, but he's just not doing it. And then pitching, not too good there in the bullpen from Hines, who I moved out of that starting rotation. He's probably wanting to be back in the rotation. All right, so we got some guys who are starting to see, I guess, some guys getting signed. And then Ramirez found probably another subpar player. Actually, this guy's a potential 2-star first baseman with some power. And now we've got Washington at home, and we win a squeaker 6-5. Let me take a look at this one first. So Aguirre, another decent game. His average is up to 287. Gordon drove in a couple. Bond looks good. His average up to 280. And Mayhew, his first win back off the injured list. Mendoza, though, picked up the save but gave up 2 runs. And I think we've got a trade proposal from Baltimore, and they're wanting McAvee. I'm not going to do that right now. And we need offense, so that's who we really need to see in some of these offers. So another good win, 8-1. We're now back to a game under 500. This was a big offensive performance. Koopman 3 for 5. Gordon 2 for 5, drove in 3. Norman looked pretty decent. His average is 295. And then Contreras, 6 2/3, no runs, a lot of walks though. But he's on pace for 13 wins if he keeps it up. And back to the news. Nothing there. So we've won this series. We could sweep them if we win today. That would be nice to get back to 500. And we do, 10-1. Great series there. Good pitching, great offense. So we had Koopman, another good game. Gordon, Aguirre, a good game from him. Hobbs playing some time there in left in place of Portillo, looked good. And then Dion, his 6th win, just 1 run in 6 innings. Bullpen looked solid, so not a bad week. And we've also got the All-Star voting going on. I'm telling you, Josh Gordon's going to be it. I don't see anybody else. Alfredo Santana's still picking up some votes there. Mike Morrison's getting some votes, though, in the bullpen. He is having a pretty decent year as kind of a setup guy, so he could maybe squeak in there. And then Players of the Week. Let's see what we got here. Luis Romero. No, it's a signing bonus. Chris Reimer in the American League. Chris Morgan in the National League. And Power Rankings, we moved up all the way up to 11th. So we're back to 500. Standings puts us 7 games behind Atlanta. 4 out of the wild card. Going to check the waiver wire. And this time I'm checking, honestly, just for offensive players. Although there are a couple decent pitchers out there, but I'm going to need the offense. So we're going up against Cincinnati. Cincinnati, a tough team right now. And did we win? We did in extra innings, 14 innings, 9-5. Man, strange game here. Perez, who I didn't mention, his offense has been pretty weak. But man, Portillo, 2 for 7, but he drove in 5. Aguirre, 4 for 5. His average up over 300 now. So hopefully he's starting to settle in. Portillo, though, long way to go before I'm going to be confident in him. McAvee, 5 2/3 innings, 4 runs. Not a good performance, but 10 Ks. Hannibal won it in relief. He's another guy who would like to be in that starting rotation, but I don't really have room for him right now. So we're a game above 500. And game 2 of this series with Cincinnati, and we lose 3-4. That broke our winning streak there. Gutierrez is a good game here. Portillo 2 for 4. Barbarossa pitched good, 7 innings, just 3 runs. Scott, who's been usually solid, lost it in the bullpen. And then game 3 against Cincinnati, and we win 4-3. Win the series, back above 500. Norman, a good game, 2 for 4, scored a run. Gutierrez, 1 for 3. And then Mayhew got his 2nd win, 7 strong innings from him. That's a good sign. Now we're going to go up against Chicago. And we got some, so Mendoza is ready to talk. He's one of the top closers in the league for sure. I would see if he would just go 3 years with no option. See what he likes. Yep, he's okay with that, and I'm okay with that. $11.5 million for one of the top closers. I'll take that. So we're going to play the Cubs, who are 38-30. But we've got a trade proposal here from Houston, another pitcher, and they're wanting Ian Norman, so that's a no-go. I'm going to give Norman at least another year or two to see what kind of pitcher or catcher he turns into. Waiver wire check, nothing there. First game against Chicago, 8-3, big win, but Portillo injured in this one, just a three-game injury. So Bond struggling a little bit, his average down to 266. Koopman, he's not up to 300 yet, so he's got a long way to go. Gordon, 1 for 2 in this one. And Portillo, he drove in a couple. Gutierrez, a good game. Norman, his average up to 303. And Contreras did get the win. He just gave me 5 innings, though. But that's his 6th win of the season. Now, game 2 against Chicago. But we got another trade proposal. from Detroit this time. Another pitcher for Norman. And I'm going to admit these are some pretty decent pitching offers. I mean, this guy's a pretty solid 3.5 star starter, but he's got a decent contract. But I just don't want to lose Norman right now. This is game 2 with Chicago. 1-0. Good pitching performance there. Let's see how that turned out. That may have been Ken Dion. He didn't get the win. That sucks. 8 1/3, 3 hits, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts. It doesn't get the win, but we pull it out in overtime or in extra innings. Norman drove in the winning run, looks like. So I'll take that. So we're going to win this series then against Chicago. So Luis Guardado hits his 500th home run. Haven't really paid much attention to this guy. Yeah, he was with Washington for a while. He is a pretty solid player for the most part. He gets a lot of walks, a lot of Ks, but 500 home runs for him. And then all-star voting, I'm sure Ian Norman's now getting some votes, catcher. But it's Josh Gordon and Mike Morrison, and that's about it. So game 3 against Chicago. And we lose 4-0. Offense went back to where they've been the last 2 games. Just 1 run in 2 games. 3 hits in this one. Man, McAfee pitched a good game. 7 innings, just 1 earned run. Condeshera blew it in the bullpen. Stars of the week, Chris Lewis in Minnesota, Zach Lanier for Washington, and for the rankings, power rankings, we are still at 13th. That's respectable. We're 2 games above 500. So 2.5 out of the playoffs in the wild card, 6 behind Atlanta, gaining some ground. But we got a tough series here. 4 on the road against Cincinnati, but Cincinnati might be struggling right now. I'm going to check the waiver wire before I do anything else. Still just pitching. So it's like it's flipped in this playthrough right now. As we've gotten up to 2039. I may have said 2029 earlier, but we're actually 2039 season. Now it looks like pitching is just out there everywhere, but no offense. So game 1 against Cincinnati, we win 5-2, but man, a big one. We're going to lose Koopman. Who is not playing like he usually does, but he has been a dependable player for me for the last 3 years, 3 or 4 years actually. So that sucks. We win 5-2. Koopman even drove in 2 runs in this game. Gordon may have picked up his 20th home run. Let's see, Rutherford, the backup catcher, looked good. Portillo 0 for 4. Barbarossa solid in 6 1/3, no earned runs. But I also saw Bond there with a minimal injury. But what can I do now? I think I'm going to bring up Eubanks, who is looking good in AAA. And I think it's either going to be Eubanks or Perez here. Probably Eubanks. Gutierrez getting the start at second, and Eubanks backing up. Can he play third? Not really, but I'm going to give him a chance and play him every 5th game, and then I'm going to put him in there playing every 4th game. And Gutierrez, he's got some speed. I think I will leave him in that 2nd spot. Let's see how he does. So I'm going to play, because Gutierrez is rated a little bit better at 3rd, I'm going to play Eubanks at 2nd. And, man, do I want him in that 2nd spot? He's also got some speed. Yeah, I'll try him there. And then I think, against righties, I'm going to put Gutierrez there, and then Eubanks getting some starting time just against the DH. And I think Eubanks, that game strategy, I think he's set to run. So I just realized I haven't put him in the. So I'm gonna make him. I'm actually going to have to remove Gutierrez there. And I guess Tuck, Hobbs, Eubanks, Cochran, and give Eubanks some time there to bat. And against lefties, that looks about the same. But then against righties, Eubanks is going to be pitch running, since Gutierrez is going to be in the starting lineup, and then I'll have him pinch hit there for him and one more. So against lefties, I'm going to put Eubanks at second. All right. So that's how it's going to work until we get him back. I mean, that was a big injury. Koopman's going to be gone 4 to 5 weeks. Give him another week in the rehab at minor. So that's a pretty big injury for us. But we're 3 games above 500. Let's get back and see if we can keep up this winning. Another trade proposal, another pitcher, and man, is he better than Barbarossa? I don't think so at this point, honestly. I think I'll stick with Barbarossa. Okay, game 2 against Cincinnati. I would really love to win this one, but we lose 3-4. Kaufman, he's struggling too for Cincinnati, man. He's hitting 172. But Gordon, Aguirre, Norman, Perez, all with 2 hits in this game. Mayhew didn't pitch a terrible game, but we just couldn't get the offense going. Washington, another pitcher. It's not going to happen. Not even going to look at it, really. And then game 3 against Cincinnati. So we're going to split at least. We win 3-2. Again, when we're winning primarily, it's through pitching. Portillo, though, had a good game, 2 for 4. Aguirre, 2 for 4. His average is up there, looking pretty good. Contreras didn't get the win, but he was strong through 6 2/3, just a run. And then game 4 against Cincinnati, 1-0, another 1-0 game. So we're 4 games over 500, starting to win. Gutierrez, 3 hits in this one. Lockhart, couple of hits. And Dion, this guy, when he is on, he is really impressing me. That's his 7th win, 8 innings, 3 hits, no walks, no runs, 8 strikeouts. He is on a really amazing pace right now. And I know sometimes the overall stars don't really tell the story. I think this guy's much better. OSA actually does like him a half star better than my scout, but man, he is really impressing me. I'm going to go back and look at the news again. There's a lot of things out there. So we did get Mendoza signed. The fans love it a little bit anyway. Mayhew now, he's wanting to re-sign. I don't think I'm going to go with him. He's a little bit too high for 2.5 star pitcher at the moment. And I think, honestly, he is an average pitcher, even though that season last year, if he would give me that every year, he'd be worth it. But I don't think he's going to be worth that again. And I think offering him an extension, not $9.5 million. I'll think about it as the season goes on. So anything else here? So we got Atlanta coming up. That would be a big series for us. We're just 5 games back now of Atlanta. And Tampa Bay will trade a catcher, Esteban Serrano, who is, half-star catcher. That's not even worth looking at. All right, so we're on the road against Atlanta, game 1. I would love to win this series. We lose the first one 2-4. Lockhart was good in this game. Very few games where I've seen him perform too good, though. McAfee, another decent game. 7 innings, just 3 runs, 11 Ks, but he took the loss. And now we've got game 2. We need this one to hopefully 5-3, good win. Lockhart, another good game. 2 for 5, drove in 2. Bond, Gutierrez, couple of hits. Gordon, 21 home runs now. Portillo 3 for 5, getting close to 200. Aguirre still hitting pretty well, and Barbarossa didn't get the win. Mendoza got it in the bullpen. All right, so game 3 against Atlanta. Can we win this series? And we do, 6-3. That was a great one. Looks like there was an injury there, but I don't see the guy. Anyway, back to the game. 6-3 in extra innings. Gutierrez, a good game, 3 for 5. This guy keeps getting better and better. I mean, he might be a long-term starter in that infield for me, so that's good. Portillo, 2 for 4. He's above 200. That's good. Now Lockhart needs to join him. He's hitting 196 right now. 1 for 2. Oh, Tuck. Big pinch hit home run, looks like. And then Mayhew, solid, 8 innings, no runs. But Mendoza blew the save. Not good. Even though I've re-signed him, he has been at times pretty worrisome this year. All right, so let's scan the news. National League All-Star voting. Ian Norman's still at 3rd. Gordon's still leading at 1st. No other offensive players. Only Morrison in the pitching. See if there's any big news here. We've got our midseason review from the owner, and he's excited about how we performed so far. It's not going to take much to excite this guy. He doesn't give me any money, and if we win, it's just it's a bonus. So home runs is still a problem. Lohman, we didn't re-sign. I'm okay with that. Overall, he says he's upset. You know, I've noticed in the other playthrough with Cincinnati, usually it takes a lot to get him not to re-sign you. Lohman, looking fairly good for Chicago White Sox. He's on pace for 40 home runs. And we got some personnel, scouting director, the big one. Yeah, I think I'll re-sign this guy if he'll take it. Ooh, $1.2 million. That's a lot for a scouting director, but they're worth it if you're playing with scouting. So hopefully that'll work. And then we do have an offensive offer here, but they wanting Dion, and I just no way I'm going to go with it. This guy's injury prone and 38 years old. Players of the week, Loren in Seattle, Piccolo for Milwaukee. But power rankings, we are now up to 7th. Highest we've been this year. 5 games above 500, just 4 back of Atlanta. And I think, just 1 game back in the wild card. So that's close. So now let's get to Miami. This will be a good series for us if we can keep winning. And this is something that doesn't happen a lot, but we've got a big scouting. And this is why I wanted to re-sign the guy. We got a big potential shortstop prospect, 4-star from my scout. Not as big from OSA, but you know it's rare when you see those. But when they do, I mean that's pretty exciting. I've seen these guys develop before these international finds when they're ranked that high. Nothing in the waiver wire. So let's go up against Miami, and then we got Atlanta again at home. First game against Miami, lose 2-4. Don't want to lose this momentum. This would be tough. Contreras, tough loss looked like for him. And then game 2 against Miami, shutout, 3-0. Just right when this is what happened offline. It's just as soon as we started winning, we started losing again. Dion wasn't terrible in this game, but a tough loss for him. Game 3 against Miami, can we salvage it? And we do. Cordray out for a while. He's a guy who I've been up and down the last couple of years. But 6 to win, a good win to end it on the series. Gutierrez looked good. Gordon good. Aguirre, man, he's starting to really hit well. And McAvee, a complete game win for him, just 1 run, his 5th win of the year. All right, so now we're a big series here against Atlanta. So here we go.
Did you accidentally summon?
Sorry. That was Siri. So, first game against Atlanta. At home, 6-1. No, wait. That was last game, sorry. I'm too excited on this one. First game against Atlanta. 3-4 loss. Man, that's a tough one. Offense, Norman 4 for 4. Good game from him. Mayhew took the loss. 3 runs in 5 innings. Now, game 2. But first off, we got some international free agents hitting the market. Let me take a look. Stop it a little bit here. Look at the awards for the month. We just started July. So we've got Juan Almazan, Batter of the Month in the American League. But how about this? Luis Aguirre for the Phillies, Batter of the Month in the National League. I knew he was doing well. I didn't know it was that well. For June, he hit .413, 7 home runs, 16 RBIs. What a month. Pitching, it went to Danny McSparron, former Philly, off to a great season, on pace for 70 wins. And then National League, Eric Harris. Rookies, Ramirez, Tampa Bay, Suzuki, who was an international signing for Arizona. I'm going to look at the international guys. I haven't really gone heavy into international free agents in a while. I've seen some busts there, and they really want a lot of money typically, and there's that big disparity there between My Scout and OSA. I would really want a sure thing if it was going to be an international guy, and I don't see any starting pitchers or pitchers in general until I get pretty low. I'm going to pass. I'm going to rely on my draft and other things for a few years to rebuild this team. All right, so game 2 against Atlanta. Another 3-4 loss. So we're losing ground bad to Atlanta. 7 games back now. Barbarossa looks like he was injured in this one. It's substantial. Tired arm. I think I'm going to have to, as much as I don't want to, I think I'm going to have to put him on the injured list right now to save him. He has been fairly decent so far this year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call up Alvarado and let him be another middle relief guy. And then I think I'm going to put Hines back in there to start and just see. I'll leave him in that second spot and see if he can come back and look okay. Hannibal has been in some ways a better pitcher, but I'll leave him in the bullpen for now. All right, so game 3, can we salvage this series? We do 2-1. I would have rather seen some offense though. Eubanks, he's been good since I called him up. Contreras picks up his 6th win, looks good. Mendoza his 20th save. So we should be getting close to that All-Star game here pretty soon. Players of the Week, Mike Swan, a former Philly, I couldn't sign. He's having a good year there for Milwaukee. And power rankings, we moved down to 13th. So we're 3 games above 500, better than what we started. But let's see. Let's see if we can get back to winning. We got Miami coming up. A trade proposal, another pitcher for Dion. Nope. And I want to check that waiver wire. I haven't looked at it, I guess, in a while. Yeah, still just some primarily pitchers, but this guy, I think he's borderline. I don't think he's anything better than what I have right now. So game 1 against Miami, 2-3. Miami has been owning us so far this year. No offense once again. Norman was 2 for 3. And that was about it. Several guys hitless. Dion, hard luck loss for him. Game 2 against Miami, 2-4. Holy cow! It's the offense. It's just they get on a roll, and Portillo's struggling again, and just really start tanking. All right, so I'm going to look at the news real quick. Salinas got his 500th home run. That's happened a lot in these playthroughs. He's been a good player for Washington his whole career at Washington. I think he's going to be one of those guys who gets into the Hall of Fame pretty easily. All right, Game 3 against Miami. Let's win this one, 8-3. A big win. We needed it. Gordon, another good game, although his average is down to 267. I didn't notice he was slipping that bad. And then Mayhew, 7 strong innings to get his 3rd win. And now we're going up against Washington on the road. They're right at 500, so this could be a good series for them to get back into contention. First game, 10-4. Good offensive game. 2 good offensive games in a row. Gordon, good game. Portillo, Eubanks has looked good. I may have to think about trading Perez if I get some offers for him. And Kevin Hines, he picked up the win. He wasn't solid, but we'll ride him a little bit longer and see what he does. Game 2 against Washington, 5-3. Another good win. Some injuries there in the minors. This was at way low in the minors. Yeah, I'll put him on the DL just to preserve him. So 5-3. Bond, who's struggling, 253 average. He had a good game. Portillo back above 200. Contreras picks up his 8th win, 21st save for Mendoza. But Contreras on pace for 15 wins. And we're about to get to the All-Star game here. So let's see who the lineups are going to be. And more importantly, see if we can sweep Washington. My guess is Gordon might be the only one, unless, he's lost some ground potentially with the month that he's had since we've been simming. All right, so we got a trade proposal in the middle of all that. Another one wanting Ian Norman. Still not ready to give him up. 3-star catcher, or pitcher, so no go to that. Voting final results, Gordon did win out at first. So let's look at some of the rosters here. The American League, Rocky Stromain, no surprise. He's still at 10 wins. He's on pace for really another Cy Young the way it's looking. I like going through here and looking for any players that were on my team at one time, just so I can see how bad I screwed up by letting them go. Don't see anything so far. Bobby McKay, 36 years old, still getting some All-Star votes. All right, so a big bonus here in the National League. Ken Dion, his first All-Star appearance. Good job for him. And then Alfredo Espinal, who I let go, signed with St. Louis. They turned him into a starter. He is having a good year as well. He makes the All-Star game. That might be, I think he made it once or so with my team, so it's not his first time, I don't think, at the All-Star game. Mike Morrison did make it as a reliever, so that was a good signing for me in the offseason. That's his second All-Star appearance. And then offense, Ian Norman, first All-Star appearance for him. That's a good thing. And Gordon made it. He's been there, I'm sure, several times. Brandon Kinsler, no surprise there. Mike Swan makes it. Lou Villa, having a pretty decent year at Colorado. A former Philly, if you've been watching this playthrough. Juan Renaga, now with the Cubs, one of the better players overall in the game, but he has slipped considerably since his peak a few years ago. And Brandon Kinsler had a viewer comment on this guy. He has had an amazing career. At 35, though, I think he is about to lose it. Even though he's having a solid year, and his ratings are still 5-star, he's up there in the blue in the major ratings. I think he's starting to tail off. I mean, he has had some amazing years, an amazing run, really. I don't think he's going to get to 3,000 hits. He might surprise me. He's got some good numbers, though. I think he's Hall of Fame for sure, probably first ballot Hall of Famer. And then I was going to see if Gordon, that's his fourth All-Star appearance, and they may 39, 37, 36. So 2 of them have been with the Phillies. All right, so last game, and this will be where we leave this episode. And we sweep Washington, a very good series. But we lost a 1-star minor leaguer, but 12-3. Bond, great game leading off, 5 RBIs. Gordon, another solid game. Lockhart, his average is now above 200 for what it's worth. Aguirre, solid game. Portillo, Norman, 4 for 5. He's really starting to look good. And Dion, his 8th win. He's looked better at times, but still a solid game for him. I'll take a look at the news. Gordon, he got his 300th career home run. He's on a great pace for us. And trade proposal, my 35-year-old third baseman for Ken Dion. Sometimes the AI, the things they throw out there at you. Players of the week, Kevin Cox, a former Philly. He is not, he's not a dominant type player, but he has been solid since he signed with Milwaukee. He's a guy, his bat I would like to have back, but man, his defense is terrible. And then power rankings. We are all the way up to 9th again. Currently, believe it or not, on pace, we would make the wild card at this point. So we've had a good run in this playthrough. It's back to within 4 games of Atlanta. You look at the team stats. We were 17-10 in June, 5-4 so far in July. The offense, several categories there. We're now back in the top 10 at least. Pitching, though, gosh, bullpen first in ERA. Earned run average overall first as a team. First in runs allowed, hits allowed. Man, I like that. I haven't seen that. If you've been watching this playthrough, you'll know. I mean, I haven't seen that kind of performance from my pitching ever in this playthrough. But is it going to be enough to get us back to the playoffs? I'm not sure, but hopefully. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to go get through the All-Star break. If I'm going to make any trades, it's going to be hopefully for some offense. I don't know what I can do. I don't want to lose those good young pitching prospects, so I don't foresee making that kind of a trade. But, a guy like Mayhew, for instance, if he's a free agent, if he draws some interest, I might try him. But I'm not going to – if we're winning with this lineup and staff, I'm not going to shake it up too much because it'll just be like pieces here and there, I think, if I do make some trades. But we'll see how it goes. And as always, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next episode.